Ballantyne.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, this is a debate and a situation that nobody in this chamber will have wanted, and it's also clear that the financial implications for Scotland are vast, and no matter which way anyone looks at the challenge ahead of us, there is no easy route to take. This isn't a debate about independence versus the Union. That debate will return. But this debate today is about the here and now. It's about our constituents, it's about our local businesses, it's about our high streets, and also about our communities. Today's debate is about how best we protect every citizen in this country with the economic effects of this awful pandemic, which has sadly taken too many lives and affected families forever. And I want to pay tribute to both the Scottish and the UK governments for the schemes that have been introduced so far. Now, I know it's been a fast-moving situation with guidance changing regularly, but it's undeniable that the schemes that have been introduced will save livelihoods and give them a chance as the economy opens up. There have been failings in the schemes, as colleagues have already alluded to, and not every business has been saved, and not every business has received finance. Some of this is highlighted, sadly, the various business practices that operate, and that certainly is a discussion for another day. But Presiding Officer, there are a number of facts that are undeniable. Spending in measures to counter the COVID-19 pandemic has reached just over £4 billion. The Scottish Government operates within a tight fiscal framework with limited fiscal powers. The UK Government must provide certainty when announcing funding for Scotland to tackle the COVID crisis, and full fiscal responsibility would provide Scotland with greater flexibility and opportunities to encourage sustainable economic growth, increase tax receipts and also invest in public services. As we've heard today, the Scottish Government has prioritised £255 million from within its existing budget, and the room to manoeuvre is very much limited. The Tories today and previously have suggested reprioritising the Scottish Government budget. Now, that is happening, but it's limited. If budgets were only to be reprioritised, then what would the UK Government have done to reprioritise? If it didn't borrow the estimated £300 billion, the financial support, which has been welcomed, would not have happened. Even more jobs would have been lost, and even more of an economic catastrophe would have occurred, and even more lives would have been destroyed. The UK Government borrowed the money as they have the powers and the flexibility to do so. MSPs need to remember that we will be paying our share of the borrowing costs. So it's not a handout or charity from London. It's our money, and it will be our share of the debt. The UK Government needs to both provide powers, but also provide absolute certainty when making financial announcements. The announcement from London on the 2nd of May that the Scottish Government were to receive £60 million in Barnett consequentials was welcomed, and the Scottish Government did the right thing by allocating that resource, only to then be told that their money will not be coming to Scotland. Also in April, the £35 million of consequentials was then reduced to £25 million by the Treasury. There was also the example that's been touched upon earlier of the £155 million for local authorities that the opposition continually demanded that the Scottish Government pay out. The Scottish Government hadn't even received the money, but were been told to pay that money out. So, Presiding Officer, if the UK Government want to help, but they don't want to allocate any other financial resources that they have borrowed, then they must provide this Parliament with the powers to aid our constituents. The fiscal framework has been spoken about already, and the political points have certainly been made. But this also highlights that the fiscal framework needs to be examined. This fiscal framework would not have been designed for a pandemic such as COVID. This shouldn't be a surprise to the Tories in the Chamber, and also certainly, sadly, ties in with the catastrophe that's going to be Brexit, which will have a hugely negative economic effect upon Scotland, whether we leave with or without a deal. 2 weeks ago in the Culture, Tourism, Europe and External Affairs Committee, the former Permanent Secretary at the Department for Exiting the European Union, Philip Rycroft, gave evidence. I asked him about the economic modelling after Brexit undertaken by the UK Government, which was published in November 2018. He said, and I quote, "I have made the point that the modelling was done by the UK Government, which was published in 2018, was consistent with a lot of the modelling that was done by other groups of economists. I stand by that." He continued, What the modelling did not accommodate at all, because of course it could not have done, was the impact of the coronavirus on macroeconomic conditions, around which I absolutely accept that there are huge uncertainties. Presiding Officer, so if the Brexit economic modelling wasn't fit to deal with a pandemic, according to the former Permanent Secretary, then how can the fiscal framework be fit for purpose? It cannot. The financial purpose of this Parliament need to be amended to ensure even more citizens can both be protected, in addition to giving our economy a fighting chance as we move forward. And if the Tories don't want to consider that the fiscal framework needs to be amended, if they think the fiscal framework is fine, then they need to tell this chamber and Scotland what budgets should be reprioritised, and also from where that money should come from, and also do they want money to come from feeding our children to go into business? Do they want money to come from the health service to go into education? Or would they actually remove the recently announced £62 million for the Energy Transition Fund for the North East to give it to something else? The Tories need to tell Scotland what they would do. Thank you very much.